Honorable Speaker, this is an act of Parliament to amend the Environment and Management Coordination Act and for connected purposes, enacted by the Parliament of Kenya as follows. The purpose being Section 147 of the Environmental Management and Coordination Act of 199 is amended in subsection 2 by inserting the following new paragraph immediately after paragraph B, which reads, make provisions for the prohibition of the introduction, growth, or maintenance of trees of the eucalyptus species in and along any river, lake, sea, or wetland. Honorable Speaker, the statement of objective and reason for this bill is that the principal objective of the bill is to amend Section 147 of the Environmental Management and Coordination Act number 8 of 1999 to permit the Cabinet Secretary to make regulations to prohibit the planting of eucalyptus trees along rivers, lakes, seas, and wetlands. This is meant to remove the water-intensive eucalyptus trees from water catchment areas and thus preserve groundwater and prevent the reduction of water level. Honorable Speaker, the statement on the delegation of legislation power and limitations of fundamental rights and freedoms, the bill delegates legislative power to the Cabinet Secretary, but does not limit fundamental rights and freedoms. Statement that the bill concerns county governments. The bill concerns county governments in terms of Article 110(1)(a) of the Constitution. It affects the functions of county governments under paragraph 10 of Part 2 of the 4th Schedule of the Constitution on implementation of specific national government policies on natural resources and environmental conservation. Statement that the bill is a money bill within the meaning of Article 114 of the Constitution. The enactment of the bill shall not occasion additional expenditure for public funds. Honorable Speaker, I just want to mention to this House that, first of all, the reason why I sought to move this particular bill is because I promised myself when I became a member of Parliament that I would leave with a legacy before the end of the term. And my legacy, in essence, was to save the rivers of this country, starting with my own home county of Nyamira County, which, Honorable Speaker, had 11 rivers that had water. But right now, only 2 actually have water. The reason for this is because there has been an intensive growth of eucalyptus trees along the wetland areas of our rivers. Honorable Speaker, just to put this into context, I will mention some of the other counties that have also been affected by the growth of the eucalyptus trees along the wetland areas. These counties are the county of Bomet, Narok, Nyamira, as I have mentioned, Siaya, Kisumu, Homa Bay, Bungoma, Kakamega, Busia, Kiambu, Nairobi, Machakos, Mombasa, Kilifi, Kisii, Vihiga, Nyandarua, Meru, Nyeri, Kericho, Kirinyaga. So, Honorable Speaker, as you can see, this has affected almost more than half of this country. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, the aim of this proposal is to make an amendment of the section that I've mentioned, Section 147 of number 8 of the Environmental Management and Coordination Act 99 by introducing a clause that prohibits planting, growing, or maintaining the eucalyptus tree species in and along any rivers, lakes, and wetlands. And Honorable Speaker, just to also add another element of this, is that from the scientific research that has been done, this particular eucalyptus tree and its species actually consumes an average of up to 90 liters of water during the wet condition and draws up to 40 liters of water during the dry season. So it is very intense in its activities. And also, Honorable Speaker, the leaves of the eucalyptus tree do not degenerate. So in essence, they do not dissolve into being manure production for our soils, but rather they stick there and you actually have to burn them. Honorable Speaker, this in essence means that any life that is found within the rivers can also not be sustained if the rivers do not have water or any other water bodies. Honorable Speaker, the eucalyptus are the most widely cultivated forest trees in the world. The genus Eucalyptus comprises more than 900 species and various hybrids and varieties. Most eucalyptus occur naturally in Australia And in Kenya, this particular tree was introduced in the year 1902 to provide fuel wood for Kenya-Uganda Railway. Madam Speaker, the total area under eucalyptus in Kenya is about 150,000 hectares, distributed in gazetted forests, land owned by large private companies, small-scale farmers, and local authorities. The area under eucalyptus is increasing at a very high rate because of its high demand for poles to be used for electrification, construction, fuel wood, and to increase the forest cover. Madam Speaker, a perceived ready market for eucalyptus product has motivated farmers to grow the species, yet extensive growing has led to the concern I am raising, especially along our wetland areas. Our country faces an escalating crisis of water security, with major water towers such as the Mau Forest, the Mount Kenya Badeas Ranges, Cherangani Hills, and Mount Elgon that feed into vital catchment areas coming under severe threat. Climate change and human activities, particularly the cultivation of water-intensive eucalyptus trees close to water bodies, contributes to the diminishing river flow and eventual drying of rivers, which in some counties, like as I said, my home county of Nyamira, 80% of the rivers are nearly extinct. Madam Speaker, this comes at a very opportune time for us as a country, because we are currently discussing COP29 in Baku as we speak. And our country is actually leading the African delegation in terms of how do we convert climate change into climate action. So this is really relevant for us because we are not just talking about climate change, but you're talking about an actual action that is being done by members of this House to ensure that there's a prosperity document that you're putting in place, an act that ensures that we do safeguard our rivers in this country. And Madam Speaker, this is not only for us. This is actually for the generations to come as well. Our young people, the young people of this country, have to be made aware that if we do not take action in terms of climate change actions for our country, then we are not helping the problem and we are not also helping the future generations. Madam Speaker, the reality is our growing water demand and water scarcity have become a notable challenge. Climate change, population growth, urbanization, water pollution, and poor management of water resources have aggravated the issue to a water crisis level, affecting economic activities, food security, education, and health. And so, this has been an environmental and community outcry in many countries suffering the negative effects of eucalyptus on water resources, soil health, and the entire biodiversity. Madam Speaker, environmental degradation and especially water scarcity is a global concern, with international organizations like the UNICEF predicting that close to half of the world's population will be living in areas facing water scarcity by as early as next year, 2025. At the center of this rising crisis is invasive trees like the eucalyptus species, of research evidence revealing that devastating impact in several countries. In 2023, for example, a study in Ethiopia alluded to the fact that the rapidly expanding areas of eucalyptus on farmers' fields affected the blue water supply downstream. Madam Speaker, another example is the water wells in India and Zimbabwe that reported between 25 to 37% reduction in the span of 3 to 5 years after planting of eucalyptus trees close to the rivers. Other countries, including Portugal, Spain, and close home in Rwanda, have banned eucalyptus trees completely. Portugal started the shift in 1990. Rwanda took the decision to ban the tree species in the year 2009, while Spain commenced what they called the de-eucalyptalizing in 2018 and actively resorted to replanting other tree species, including native ones, helping to boost the chances for nature to recover some of its resistances. All these countries, Madam Speaker, have embraced other equally economically useful trees, species that are also friendly to the environment and protect the health and the earth and its inhabitants. And Madam Speaker, during my research and working with the experts in the environmental space, one of the trees that has really been recommended as a replacement for eucalyptus is the bamboo tree. And the reason for this is because the bamboo tree has equal economic benefits as the eucalyptus tree, but is more friendly towards the environment and especially the wetland areas. In our moment to follow suit in Kenya, the future management options of eucalyptus species call for interventions that must be regulated and coordinated at national level, then cascaded to the counties and landscape scales. Madam Speaker, this particular legislation is long overdue. In 2009, the late Honorable John Mishuki, the then CS for Forestry and Environment, ordered eucalyptus to be uprooted in water riparian areas. Despite the ban on planting eucalyptus, this directive was not successfully implemented because there was no backed up law. It was not backed up by the law, and therefore the regulations could not be implemented by the CS. Madam Speaker, when passed by this Honorable House, the proposed amendment will allow the Cabinet Secretary to make specific prohibitions to prohibit introduction, growth, maintenance of the eucalyptus species in Kenya. This will align and cement the existing climate change and sustainable environmental conservation regulation framework to achieve more resilient ecosystem. In terms of public participation, Madam Speaker, I did engage in a community-focused engagement in my home county, which I used as a pilot, using the Super MP football tournament. And this particular tournament had a running theme of reviving our rivers. And what we did is that we ensured that the young people who actually participated in that tournament did plant alternative trees whenever they began a game of football. And for a period of 4 weeks, there was intense discussion about this particular aim of reviving our rivers within the county of Nyamira. 3 weeks ago, there was another public participation exercise that was conducted in the county of Kilifi, in which the stakeholders also agreed that following the passing of the amendments, the government, private sector, and civil society will collaborate to achieve the goals outlined in the bill to promote sustainable development. I had an opportunity to also present this particular bill before the Committee of Environment, and the committee did have an opportunity to have widespread public participation, including engaging the experts in the environment space, and they did approve this particular bill to proceed. The Environment Management and Coordination Act Amendment Bill of 2023, Madam Speaker, is essential to protect our water resources. I recommend that national institutions mandate to manage forest and water catchment areas like the Kenya Forest Service, the Kenya Research Institute, and Water Resource Authority should provide site-specific alternative trees, such as the bamboo tree and other native species, to replace the eucalyptus entirely. Madam Speaker, as I conclude, let me say that this bill concerns county government in terms of Article 110(1)(a) of the Constitution, and I will be making further communication through the Speaker on who will be the co-sponsor of the bill in Senate. And as I conclude, I just want to reach out and express to the members that we as a country need to take action so that we can protect our fields, we can protect our rivers. And Honorable Speaker, the only way we can ensure that is done is by ensuring that we do put laws in place that actually ensure that we protect this, not just for the purposes of this particular parliament that we serve in, but also for the prosperity. And Honorable Speaker, I will finish with a quote from a French proverb. We never know the worth of water till the well is dry. I submit, and I call upon the Honorable Jane Kagiri to second. I thank you.
Honorable Jane. Honorable Jane Kagiri, please proceed to second the motion.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I stand to second this amendment. And first, I'll take this opportunity to congratulate Honorable Irene Mayaka for a very well thought out amendment. Honorable Speaker, as I start to second, I would want to first take us through some statistics. It is medically recommended that each person takes 2 liters of water per day. Honorable Speaker, that would mean for a family of 5, they would require 10 liters of water per day. Honorable Speaker, for the eucalyptus tree, it requires 90 liters of water per day. So a eucalyptus tree is taking the water intake of 45 Kenyans. Honorable Speaker, I would want to say that majority of Kenyans don't even meet the 2 liters requirement, not because they don't want, but because they cannot get the access to that water. So, Honorable Speaker, I would be seconding to state that it would be very unfortunate for us as a country to continue allowing this tree to be planted next to our riverbed and our water sources, knowing that it is taking up water, which would be of great assistance to our people and of great use to them. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, this is a tree that causes a lot of soil degradation, because if we look at a situation of an acre in Kenya, it would fit around 3,000 trees. A quick math of what I spoke before, that would mean 270,000 liters of water being taken up per day on that particular area of soil. Honorable Speaker, that will cause a lot of soil degradation even to the neighboring piece of land, because knowing how the roots of the eucalyptus tree operate, they actually stretch onto other pieces of land. So, Honorable Speaker, that would be the second point, that our eucalyptus trees are causing a lot of soil degradation in our country. And the third one, I would want to speak of the biodiversity loss. And biodiversity loss, actually, Honorable Speaker, is in regard to the tough decomposition of eucalyptus leaves. Unlike many other trees where their leaves decompose and in fact become manure for the soil, on this one, the eucalyptus leaves normally do not decompose. So actually, they are not of any benefit to the soil in that area, and they actually affect the flora and fauna of the particular area. So, Honorable Speaker, the third thing I would want to speak about is its effect on the water quality. As we've spoken, Honorable Speaker, the eucalyptus tree sucks in a lot of water. So, of course, it affects the water, surface water. It takes up all the surface water. The surface water normally has a lot of nitrogen and phosphorus, which is important for soil nutrients. Again, we lose it because of this particular tree. Honorable Speaker, even in regards to the local climate, the eucalyptus tree is not beneficial to us. In fact, it causes desertification, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, with those many remarks, I hope we have convinced this House that we need to put an amendment to this bill to ensure that never again should our water sources be dried because of the eucalyptus tree. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I submit and I second.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Mayaka and Honorable Jane Kagiri. Honorable members, I now propose the question that the Environmental Management and Coordination Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 66 of 2023, be read a second time. Honorable members, I see a few interests in this. I guess that this is the motion that you want to speak to. So we start with the Honorable Gishimo Gedeji, member for Gichugu.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to support this bill by Honorable Irene Mayaka, which I would say is also a bill of life, because it is seeking to protect the wetlands where we derive, where we normally get our waters from. And Honorable Speaker, though eucalyptus trees have also some benefits, I think the disadvantages outweigh the advantages of these trees to the Kenyan populace. And Honorable Speaker, I'm happy that Honorable Mayaka was also able to do a lot of research across the world, and also came up with the areas that where even eucalyptus tree has been banned. And one of the interesting areas, Honorable Speaker, out of my research on this eucalyptus tree is Portugal, whereby in 1989, there was a war in the valley of Lila, a place called Viecadolila in Portugal, where hundreds of people gathered to destroy 200 hectares of eucalyptus trees, fearing that the trees would rob them of their water and bring fire. And I believe this is one of the revolutions that led to Portugal banning the growth of eucalyptus trees in wetlands, in riparian areas, along the rivers, and so forth. And Honorable Speaker, these eucalyptus trees have also been referred as that species because research has shown, and one such research is also from India, whereby it has been shown that eucalyptus trees take more water than what is replaced by rainfall. And therefore, that means that even the human life, any kind of life, is written by these eucalyptus trees. And without belaboring the point, Honorable Speaker, it is also worth noting that this law now gives the minister or the CS an avenue to make regulations that would firmly make it possible for enforcement or the management of the wet areas, the catchment areas, for the purposes of issues in respect of the eucalyptus tree. And that is in line with Article 95 sub-Article 6, which provides that Parliament has the powers to make law, but also has also power to delegate that law. And this provision now gives that avenue to the Parliament to delegate that power to the Cabinet Secretary to come up with the regulations towards the management of the growth of eucalyptus trees in this country, and especially in the wet areas and where we normally get our water from. And back home, and especially in my county, Kirinyaga, these eucalyptus trees are usually a very big threat to the rivers. Actually, most of the rivers, some of the rivers have dried up because of these eucalyptus trees. And that is why I stand here to support this bill, which also looks at the issues of the climate change. Climate change is not only about the air, and planting trees. It's also about climate change action on areas that also threaten lives, both human and plants, other plants, and also other species, because when the rivers dry up, we also lose lives which are usually found in that river, including fish, and also it's also a threat to the food security in this country. So, Madam Speaker, my research also shows that in February 2020, the then Minister for Environment, Honorable Keriako Tobiko, called for eucalyptus trees to be uprooted in all wetlands and all catchment areas. But you see, that was just a directive which had no legal backing. And that is why this now legislation comes in handy to make sure that there is a law, there is a legal framework that a minister or a CS can use in order to enforce to enforce such kind of directives. But if someone never followed that directive and obeyed it, there was nothing that would have happened. So regulations coming through the CS would help in this space a lot. And that is why I support and thank you for that opportunity, Honorable Speaker. And I also thank Honorable Irene Mayaka for bringing this, I would call, a bill of life. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Member for Gichugu. The Honorable Martin Owino, Member for Ndhiwa.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to support this amendment bill. And I want to congratulate Honorable Irene Mayaka, making the first shot at the bill. It's very tiring and very needy. There are a lot of research which has been thrown into it. It is true global issues when it comes to environment is progressive, and therefore a bill giving the CS mandate to make policies, I think it is in order, because we will need those policies from. Madam Speaker, I grew up in rural setting, and really there were some rivers which were never drying. And you had Mutembei being mentioned as one of the areas affected. If not abated, we'll end up in a crisis. The human body needs between 45 to 75% of water, depending on gender and all that, but that range, meaning if the rivers dry up, the common wananchi has no access to water. That reduction of water in the body may cause a lot of ill health, and this is for sure. So if we find an item or this eucalyptus as one of the factors that are doing that, and we know global issues are progressive, then we have to have that as a strategy, which I really recommend what this bill is going to do. So we have that as a strategy. Eucalyptus dehydrate the soil. This is the most important part of it. The soil dehydration around it then causes other species, the shrubs, to die off. And that really interferes with the ecosystem of our environment. Our environment constitutes a lot of stakeholders, including rickets, insects, and every shrubs around it. So when the water is depleted, really you interfere with the ecosystem. As one of us have said, this is some good, but the bad really outweighs what eucalyptus does to our environment. So to Honorable Mayaka, I think this is in order. We are talking here about the soil health when we come to cultivation of our crops and all that. And that home river, I'm trying to say, dried up and left the community in disarray, really used to service well when it comes to water and water products. And when we were growing young, it was abundant. Even people used to fish and do other things, draw water to irrigate and plant other things. But right now, it's a wash bay. The rain comes as it goes, and that is the end of it because of this eucalyptus which was planted around it. It outcompetes other species. This is another issue. It just don't just take what is, it outcompetes completely. That where you find these trees grown, there will be no other things growing because of that outcompetition. So uprooting them, I think, a way to go, but also avoiding it at all, that we don't add more insult to injury, I think is very important. So as I conclude, I want to congratulate Honorable Irene and Honorable Kagiri, who seconded this with a lot of facts. And I urge other members, let us support this and vote it in so that we can start implementing it. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Member from Ndhiwa. The Honorable Naomi Wako, Member from Marsabit County.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support this bill number 66 of 2023, the Environmental Management and Coordination Amendment Bill by Honorable Irene. And I also want to congratulate Honorable Irene Manyaka for coming up with this, which is very relevant and to every part of this country, very important, especially now when we are talking of climate change and Kenyans and the entire world is struggling on how we can cope with this situation. So I support this amendment because of course, the facts that she has already given and other facts that all the other members have given. And I also add my own addition to that, so that these amendments can be put in place and we save the situation in our counties and different parts of this country. Honorable Speaker, as you may know, some time back, it was like a tradition for all of us to plant the eucalyptus trees all over. And little did we know that the disadvantages were so much, such that we didn't even imagine that in some few years we'll be talking of the negative impact it has had, especially for those of us who come from ASAL areas, whereby we have planted and our parents have planted in our farms, in our small shambas, in our plots, and even around the wet areas. And at the end of the day, what people have seen is it has done a lot of damage, and the earlier we get rid of these trees, the better for us. Although I know many people have been talking about the advantages, the medicinal side of it, and all these other things, but when you look at the negative impact, it is so high such that we need to get rid of it. Honorable Speaker, after looking and doing a bit of research on this, I have seen that the eucalyptus trees root spread up to 100 feet, which also means that if you plant it close to your house, the damage it causes is so huge such that your house can be brought down by this. And you know very well that in the villages, people don't have a lot of resources and even cannot afford to come up with that very strong foundation. So when you do this, and then it destroys all the area around that, and at the end of the day, your house is also damaged. You know very well, many people cannot also insure their houses, and at the end of the day, the loss is so huge on them, and repairing again is a big problem. In fact, I have heard of so many people from my own village complaining about that and trying to move even relocate their houses to a different place. And of course, that is also not easy because of the cost that they can easily incur. Again, the other thing that I have seen from experience is that during the wind time, you know, when it is raining, the winds come, and sometimes this eucalyptus tree can easily fall. When they fall again, the damages are so huge. They fall on houses, they fall on classes, they fall on even human beings, and destroy people's property. So, Honorable Speaker, there is no need for us to keep those things that disadvantage us and our community, and that is why today I stand and say that I support this bill so that we get rid of it and we replace the trees with other trees that have relevance and can have some benefit to our communities. And with those few remarks, I support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Wako. The Honorable Christine Ombaka, member for Siaya County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I rise to support this bill, or this amendment bill, because it is good for the country. When we talk about the effect of water, and eucalyptus tree is one of them, then it is better to sacrifice and burn it, especially along the rivers and springs. Anything that affects humankind in terms of water resources is a dangerous thing. We know very well that people who suffer in terms of looking for water are women. Women never have water. They spend a whole day looking for water in the rivers and in the springs, and young girls and old women look for water all over. Even little boys, I see them looking for water, even without eucalyptus. But with eucalyptus trees around, the situation gets worse. So anything that will affect lack of water, that will affect us, that there is no water, that sucks water from the springs and from the rivers, that's a dangerous thing. So that's why I support this, because the sufferers are human beings. Water is life. When there is no water, nobody will have that life. So this is a dangerous thing. This is a dangerous tree that we need to control and ensure that it is not grown along the rivers. My next point is that people plant these trees, eucalyptus, because they believe it is medicinal. It is. It has been confirmed. It is medicinal. It is used for various diseases like coughs and colds. It is also used for insecticides. And so people see the benefit of it. But people need to be educated to know the bad side of it as well, so that they take care and become more cautious. During tree planting times, we normally have tree planting seasons, and people plant anything, any tree that they see. It is important also to use that opportunity, that time, or tree planting, to educate the people what type of trees to plant, what type of trees to avoid. That way, we will be able to avoid planting trees that are harmful, that will affect our daily lives. So I think that is my contribution to this. I support it because it is touching on the very core of human life, water. Water is life, and water, without water, women bear the biggest burden. Therefore, we need to burn it along the rivers, along the springs, or any water sources that we have around. I support the bill, and we will continue to debate on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Member for Siaya. The Honorable Patrick Ndhiwa, Twiga, Member for Chuka Ng'ombe.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I stand to support this important bill by Honorable Irene Mayaka. I come from the Ruto County, Chuka Ng'ombe constituency, Chair. And in my constituency, this eucalyptus tree is a main problem to us, Chair. And I even want to look at the problem it has caused us in a different angle, Chair, because even the investment we are doing in Speaker in terms of water catchment, in terms of water for irrigation, all the intakes we have done like in my constituency, the government has invested so much money to do these water intakes. People have started doing irrigation using these water projects, but these rivers are drying. So all the investment we have done in the intakes, it's going to waste because the rivers are drying. So, Chair, Madam Speaker, it's very important that we avoid these eucalyptus in our trees, because what we are doing is just reverse investment. Like in my constituency, we have an investment of almost 1 billion by European Union for our water intake that is supposed to serve the whole of Chuka town and its environment. But because of these eucalyptus trees that have been planted along that river, we are losing almost 5 intakes now. That during these intakes have water almost 2-3 months per year. The rest of the season, they don't have water, Chair. So you wonder, is it worth to do all this investment in this intake and these important irrigation and drinking water projects to have water 3 months per year? Something that we can avoid by avoiding these trees. So, Madam Speaker, I think this is a very important bill, and I'm happy that it has come at this particular time, that even in this parliament, for members of parliament, we have even enhanced our environment kitty, that when we go home now, we need now to start telling our people, because people are being given alternatives, that you don't plant eucalyptus, what do you plant? So it's the high time, Madam Speaker, we engage our people constructively. And I love the research that the Honorable Member Eileen has done, and I would really wish that is shared widely. Even the examples she has given of countries that have dealt with this matter of eucalyptus trees, so that as we engage members, we engage from a factual point, we engage from a point of knowledge, and we engage from a point where we can show them that it has been done elsewhere, and so it can be done in Kenya too. Thank you, Speaker. I support.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Richard Yegon, Member for Bomet East.